Welcome to our second Zoom Out session. This series is hosted by Anglo-American University because we're really trying to promote this idea that education should continue well beyond after your graduation and stay with us even while we're working professionals, that we still have opportunities to learn. So yeah, thank you AAU for supporting this series. As you can kind of assume from the name, Zoom Out sessions, the focus of the series is to, think above the silos of everyday thinking, everyday work, and kind of assess where we're going in society. So, we're very lucky to have different experts from different sectors come in, and we can just talk about their field of work and ask them our questions. So today we're very lucky to have Tomáš Dombrovský, who is the chief analyst of the Alumni group, and jobs.cz falls under that umbrella, which is one of the largest job platforms in the Czech Republic. So you have quite a bit of insights on the local labor market here. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation and
happy
to be here.
So today, we'd like to focus on a pretty big topic, which is the future of the labor market. I guess jobs are pretty important for a lot of things. I mean, in our personal lives, they influence our livelihood, our sense of purpose, putting food on the table. But I guess even beyond that, they impact society and the environment, which is a big thing that we're trying to focus on in this series. Again, zooming out, looking at the environment, society. So I'm curious to hear what you think are some of the factors that are currently shaping the future of the labor market here in the Czech Republic. So perhaps, like when we were discussing before, you're kind of mentioning some of these major forces at play here. Like right now, a really big topic is artificial intelligence with ChatGPT, which has been greatly impacting my job. So perhaps we can kick off with that topic, how you see AI impacting jobs today, and where you kind of see that going the next 5 years from now.
I will start with something a little bit different. It's the fact that most people include work and employment, if they have employer, amongst three major stuff in their lives. It's about personal relations, their health conditions, and work. And it's not about income, it's about the possibility to be in some social interaction, to be valuable for others, to help others in lives, to be helpful, mostly. So the income is one thing, to put the food on the table, as you said, but the second major thing, and it's like in the basic level, for many people, it's to be useful for others. So the work is really important. So when it comes to such sexy topics like the influence of AI and how many people will lose jobs, how it is put right now, how it's threatening, endangering the society, what shift will happen on the labor market. Because usually we tend to panic, what will change, how it will affect us, influence us. And the first reaction is like freeze and fear that it will be for worse, But I'm not convinced it's that scenario, because I will talk about other trends which are like influencing the labor market and the society, big major trends. It's not about last year or 10 years, it's about long-term development, technological in society and climate. We will talk about climate as well. We'll talk about demographic change and shift. So this is another big influence, and it comes all together. And I guess it's normal to be afraid or to fear the change if you are not so well in your basis, you are not self-aware about your value or some perspective in the labor market, and many people fear it because they don't know exactly what will happen. But even the experts, including me, can't tell you for sure what will happen. The changes, the the basis of the change is it's unpredictable in many ways. Yeah? So we just have to adapt and incorporate it into our work and adapt in organizational ways, in terms of companies, organizations, and in terms of the way how we work, how individuals do their work. Yeah? And in long term, on let's say in several years, many people will shift on the labor market to other type of positions, or maybe their current position will change over time in 1 or 2 or 3 years, and they will do something slightly different in different ways. They will have more free time to do something else, maybe for their current employers, or they will find something new on the labor market. But the basic is that they will need to adapt, they will need to learn a lot, they will need to catch up with the changes. Yeah? Everybody who is like refusing the changes, like how to say, resisting or rejecting, it's even happening. Yeah, that person is more endangered by the change because he will not be able to catch up. Yeah, so that's the fact that we are moving so fast, and the technological changes and the climate change and all the things together are going in one direction, influencing the labor market and the society in many ways and in huge like impact. So we will need to catch up and adapt. Yeah, and everybody is trying to do so. So right now the companies invest heavily in digitalization, in AI, in all those stuff. Yeah, but it's not about only this new kind of technology. It's about automation in manufacturing. Yeah, because for example. Let's have a look 20 years back. The employment in manufacturing is almost the same right now like it was in 2000. Yeah? So 22 years happened, 23 almost, and like level of employment, the number of people, for example, in Czech Republic or Germany, in industry, in manufacturing is the same. Does it mean the manufacturing didn't move anywhere? No. It made huge leaps in the productiveness, in the, let's say, the production, what they produce, what they put on the market, etc. But it's about the technology, it's about the automation, yeah? Because there is no way how to hire more people and attract more people because those people are not available in the market, yeah, and especially when we look on the demography, they are not available in the youth cohort, in the youth age group, yeah. That there's not so many people. We are aging population, so the technology solved one, or is helping to solve one big sociological and demographic shift and change, yeah. And I'm convinced even AI. In the way it's affecting, or it will affect the labor market, the way we work and the organizational changes, even AI will help us handle the things we stand against, we have ahead. Yeah, this means especially aging. Yeah, because so many people are entering 65 plus years, yeah, so we will need to take care of them with less and less people having time and skills to do so, yeah, so that's one thing. And the second thing, the climate change is threatening us a lot. It's starting and fueling the conflicts in the world. Yeah? It's not only about Ukraine, Russia right now, it's also about long-term conflict between South and global North, developed North. Yeah? Because it's happening, we just don't like to see it. It's happening, yeah? Because the distribution of wealth and of production, of all services, everything, the distribution of the basic what's the name? I can't find the word, I'm sorry. But it's unequal in the world, and somebody is having the primary sources, the distribution of sources is uneven, yeah? And somebody else is making the most value of it, in different part of the world, and only a small part of the global population is really thriving, and the other parts are having huge social issues. Yeah, and it all comes together, and I'm convinced technology will help us to solve it better, hopefully. In the worst scenario, it will be fueling the social differences. Yeah, so it will maybe, if we don't use it wisely, it can also like widen the gap. Yeah, so it will be for worse maybe.
Yeah, because also from what I see and what I understand, it's those parts of society, largely the global north, who have all these privileges and the high living standards. It's also that segment of society that's causing a lot of climate change. When you look at carbon footprint per person, it's largely from our side of the picture.
It depends. So yeah, we are. The CE region is in a little bit different position, but let's say United States and the western part of the EU and so on, there is so big accumulation of wealth that we can afford to move forward to green technologies. They are more expensive even on resources. Yeah, it's much more expensive to produce all the infrastructure and let's say the goods and the cars, e-cars, etc., to put it in normal function in society. Yeah? So we can afford it. Other countries and majority of the global population can't. Yeah? So it will definitely make some tensions across the world, and other countries, I believe, will be tempted to like catch up with our standard, but it will be on the cost of even higher pollution. Yeah, so it's about this balance as well. Yeah, the technology might help, but not everywhere the same. Yeah, so we are in a good position. Let's say we can afford it. Many people will have the money and the time and the opportunities to do so. In Western and Global North, the companies, the organizations are more adaptive because they have more resources to do so. Yeah. But in other parts of the world, it will cause some tension, and it will also cause some migration, etc. We were facing it in 2015-16. It was kind of part of this problem as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're speaking a little bit about how companies, particularly in Western Europe and also here, how they're shifting and having to change and adapt to climate change and adapt green technologies, green practices. How can students, the labor force of the future, how can they prepare for this challenge that we're being faced with today, and especially with the days tomorrow?
Okay, I would start with the advice: don't panic. Yeah, don't panic, because even though the topic of influence of AI, for example, is so hot right now, and everybody can put hands on and try it and see the results, how big technological leap it is. Yeah, so it's kind of a panic right now, and everybody wants to discuss. And let's say the academic discussion in which some big names in business like Elon Musk and others are included, and some say let's stop it for some time, the development of AI, and some others say it's the biggest revolution that happened to humanity since manufacturing started, yeah, or since the agricultural revolution before manufacturing. Yeah. So we have a lot of discussion about that, but I would say don't panic, because those changes we are experiencing right now, it was happening 5 years ago as well. It was just slower, yeah, and it was affecting our lives and the way we work all the time. Let's just imagine about the mobile usage, the mobile devices. Yeah, nobody knew how big influence it would bring to operations, yeah, to the way we work. Yeah, nobody knew that, for example, for even older people, the internet will mean the mobile device, not the desktop. Yeah, so and it not threaten people to lose jobs. It just expanded the way we work, and it made us more productive. Yeah. So it's about the possibility or the ability to learn a lot all the time, to be able to catch up with the changes, to put hands on the new technology, to learn to use it, yeah, to be open that our work is changing all the time. Yeah, your job role will maybe have the same name, but the content will be changing all the time. Yeah, and we experienced that even before. Yeah, let's imagine. I don't know the word in English. Maybe it will help me. But in manufacturing, when you are doing the precise work with steel and you construct something, some small parts, it's a name of profession for that in English. Maybe you can help me. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you are just using the machines to like produce some small parts and pieces of components for machines. Yeah. And in the past, it was like it was kind of routine, precise manual work. Yeah. Right now, and past 5-10 years, it's kind of a programming. You are doing work with a sophisticated machine, and you are rather a programmer than manual worker. Yeah. But it's still blue-collar work. Yeah. Just the content of how the way we produce those parts changed a lot. Yeah. And the same will happen with the influence of AI in, let's say, office jobs or white-collar jobs. Even those highly classified, let's say, lawyers, they felt so secure in the past. Right now they are threatened because their work will change a lot, and the added value of the person, human being, doing something will be somewhere else than just only producing, for example, documents. Yeah. Because the technology can make it easier, faster, with less people producing the same or bigger amount of stuff for more clients and customers. Yeah, that doesn't mean the people on white-collar jobs or, for example, those highly qualified jobs in offices won't be necessary. They will be, but they will be much more productive. And the amount of time and energy and skills we will have free because of the productiveness will be used somewhere else. Yeah, and the discussion right now is about that if the companies will be able to find opportunities for those people or time or energy they will have spare, because right now we have lack of people. Yeah, there's nowhere to hire. So maybe that's the way how to solve it. So you will like upskill the people for different jobs, different type of roles, or extend the scope of work. Yeah, the scope of what they do for the company. Or the second scenario, some people will, in time, let's say in several years, they will lose some jobs and they will find another. And it will be again about upskilling mostly. Yeah, because they will definitely they will definitely not be, let's say, have some perspective on the labor market if they don't learn something new and to use some new technologies in different kind of roles. Yeah.
And I would hope that there's more space for critical thinking and creativity in the work.
Definitely. Yeah, it's
we're
about
in an age of information where we can access everything.
Yeah, it's one topic for me. It's the digital positions, everything which comes to white-collar jobs and this kind of information processing and decision making and cooperation in companies, etc. Project work, this kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely learning critical thinking, soft skills will be necessary. It will be crucial. Yeah, but there is another field, and I guess many people will shift there. Right now, especially in the CE region and some other parts of world and Europe, it's not so like heavy industry, big industry, but we will need much more people in this kind of positions, and it's about social care, healthcare, taking care of the aging population, because so many people are entering this age. Yeah? Especially in our part of the world, it's about we have the same level of how many years you will survive, how many years you will live, but not so many years in health, good conditions. Yeah, so you will like consume more healthcare, more social care, some kind of personal services. Yeah, and we don't have so many people there, so many people will shift there, and no AI, no, let's say, no visible right now clearly predictable technology can help us with that. Yeah, we have to take care about ourselves in person more than right now.
Okay. I'm swinging this question away a little bit back to education. What do you think is the value of business school versus studying, say, like humanities when you're preparing yourself for the future? Yeah. Or perhaps some like hybrid of the two?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would like divide the answer to the two parts. One is quick. The title itself doesn't matter. Yeah, sometimes it does. If you have Harvard and you are in some academical role, for example, or some high political role or business, it may help you. Yeah, the Harvard and especially the connections connected with some kind of schools can help you a lot.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Connections have always been everything for me.
So sometimes the title and the connections you made through the schools, it's the value. Yeah. But the major part in your whole life will be the ability to learn and to process new stuff, new things, to adapt. Yeah, and that's something because you will spend a lot of time studying here, processing information, collaborating. For example, negotiating with your peers in school, with teachers as well. Yeah, etc. So it will give you a lot of experience in this. Let's say softer soft skills, yeah. And this is something valuable. The most, the biggest or the most important part is the ability to learn whole life, yeah. So I would say don't hope that with the title or end of the school your learning will stop. It will definitely not. If you see it so, you will have a big problem in the future, yeah. And it's nothing new because even now the employees, the normal employed people experience the same. If they don't catch up with the changes, they don't have the good perspective on the labor market. Although there is so big hunger for new stuff, yeah. But you see, it's like open a gap in between what people do we have with what skill sets. And what companies need, how they describe the roles, what they desire for, how do they put it on in some job positions, etc. Yeah, and right now we are in some let's say paradox situation. That on one hand we have a lot of people like endangered by long-term inactivity or economical inactivity as well, or unemployment, long-term unemployment. Sometimes in some countries with bigger health, accumulation of health, it's even chosen unemployment. Some people, especially younger, they tend to choose not to work for some time because they have some ground in family, for example. Yeah, they have the wealth in the family. It's not our case. Yeah, and on the other hand, we have so many people like excluded from the market. They don't have the skills necessary in the place they live with the demand of the companies. And on the other hand, we have like tens of thousands, and in Europe it's millions of vacant job positions, and companies have nowhere to hire. Yeah, they don't have the people with the right skill sets. Yeah, so there is a gap, and the only way how to fill it is our ability to. If you take it from the perspective of an employee, to learn something new and to be able to jump in, for example, new profession, new role. And on the other hand, from companies, it's the ability to invite and include, hire people from, for example, other businesses, other types of professions. Yeah, because right now it's not happening so fast. Yeah, companies struggle to hire, but they don't open up for people who try to enter with upskilling schemes. Even though they learn something new, companies are not able, or they don't want to hire those people because they are not senior enough, not skilled enough for them. They don't want to spend money and time on the last training, on the last mile of education of the reskilling, upskilling scheme. Yeah.
And how do you see people continuing their education after university?
Okay, we have the data for that from the Czech Republic, so that's a nice question. It's if you look on the available official data from Eurostat, for example, the average amount of people studying whole life something new, it's around 10 to 15% in Czech Republic. It's not so big number, but that comes to formal accredited courses, etc. Accredited courses, etc. When we look inside the companies, we have almost 50% of employees learn something during work for work. Yeah. Companies invest heavily. 90% of companies invest in education, in some trainings, courses, online education, etc. in companies. Yeah, mostly it's about like safety, like processes and the legal stuff, legal obligations, and for example, in bigger companies, alignment of divisions and parts of the company. Yeah, so it's like what do we need to know to make our work like safely, to make it like the way it should be done properly. Yeah. But let's say 25 to 30% of the education goes in the development, the career growth, the shift of the people to higher added value positions, etc. So it's changing a lot as well, yeah. And the money are there. The companies know, and they got pandemic and heavy impulse, yeah. That if they don't invest in that field, they will lose the ability to catch up with the market, to be competitive enough. Yeah, so that's something that changed a lot during pandemic as well. It was kind of an impulse. I'm not saying it was something really bringing something completely new. It was not. Yeah, it was just accelerating the changes and the trends that were already happening on the market. Yeah. In terms of the way we work and in terms of how companies try to adapt investing in the education of their employees. Yeah? And the last step, last mile, let's say, is the ability of companies to invest not only in their current employees, but the people they have on the market free, not involved enough. And those companies will be able to include them, invite them, train them, put them on the job positions they need the most, to upskill them. They will have so big competitive advantage. Yeah, so this is something that is starting to happen, but not quick enough. Yeah, and right now the technological changes really push the companies as like in this direction as well. Yeah, and it's interesting because I was telling the numbers about how many people learn something new. Let's say. In the whole employed population, we have like 1/4 of people who are actively searching for what they can learn to be better in what they do, or to do something new, even better, with some better perspective. 1/4 is really active, investing from their money as well. And then we have, let's say, 50% of people who are just, it's like they know if they don't do so, they will be endangered. So they want to keep up with the changes. Yeah, some people, they really state, I'm learning just to understand what I should do on my role, yeah, and how. Yeah, so I'm learning to know how to do my work right now, yeah, not to move somewhere else, yeah, but to know how to do it proper. Yeah, so it's like 25% active, 50% like catching up, and just 1/4 is like excluding the possibility to learn and move anywhere. Yeah, and those people will be in worse position than those active. Yeah, and it's interesting that the last point I wanted to add. We were conducting a huge survey last fall and winter. It was November, December, about companies' education and then also the HR agenda. It was in cooperation with the Ministry of Labor and Social Care. And in that survey, companies stated that they are under some pressure because of the inflation and the crisis, energetical and so on. So they need to save some money. But the COVID lesson was they don't want to save the money on core employees. They don't want to save money on education inside company because they know it's the way how to adapt. They just want to make some technological changes, office changes, car park changes, etc. Those things that doesn't affect people because they don't want to lose skilled people. Yeah, they will rather invest and extend the investment into the upskilling and reskilling of employees they have to shift them to the positions they need. Yeah, so that's something kind of new. It was not completely new, but kind of new with some bigger impulse, and it's really still in the companies. They don't want to give up. Under pressure, under the need of savings, they don't want to give up. They want to keep the people and shift them somewhere they see the opportunities. Yeah, and that's something we have the data as well from some study of one EU agency from last fall, and it was about the pandemic changes in employment. And there was a huge shift. When I make it more simple, it was a huge shift from low-income jobs with low added value, for example, in some kind of primary services and manufacturing with no, let's say, not specialized work. Yeah. And those people shifted mostly to the highest income quintile with the most demanding jobs. Yeah. So it was clearly visible that many people and many percent of employees shifted from the primary low-income jobs to the higher levels, yeah, and the huge was really, really big, yeah. When we compare that with the changes during the financial crisis, 2009-10 and on, yeah, it was like 5-6 years. It was drop in manufacturing, affected by the money in banking, yeah, but it came back and the level of employment in manufacturing was almost the same after the crisis. Yeah? It was just the dump and then the bounce back. Yeah, right now the shift is like more constant. Yeah, the people move to the jobs with higher added value, more specialized, more demanding in terms of information processing, working with technologies, and it's happening. It's not about AI right now only. It's about technological changes and changes in the whole world, societies, geopolitical situations, etc. As a whole. Yeah, and for me, one even bigger impulse than the war and the pandemic will be the way we handle the climate change, yeah, because it will influence everything definitely in our part of world for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have a few more questions up my sleeve, but does anyone in the audience have any questions or feedback about where to steer things?
So you were talking a lot on the sort of bird's eye view of things. I'm wondering if you can be perhaps more sort of down to earth practical. If the value of learning is so high, so how do young people demonstrate that? What should people do to signal the appetite for learning or these things to sort of bridge the gap that you described?
Mm-hmm. In first hand, it's about the ability and the openness to step out from your current job positions or role, yeah, to be able to look for something different and to apply for that, for example, in terms of applying while extending your skill set, yeah, with some courses, for example, or some training, some kind of work you do with it mustn't be only like paid jobs, or it could be some projects you do in your free time. Yeah, you can just show that you are interested in the area you are trying to enter. Yeah, and the first step is to open up for different kind of opportunities, because right now many people, they just tend to look for the stuff they already did. Yeah, and that's wrong. Yeah, because they won't find the most interesting jobs. Yeah, that's the first way. The second way is you really need to invest some money and time in further education. It means courses. Yeah, it means some academies, for example. Yeah, I have a great example right now. Some of my friends, they were accountants in banks. Yeah, they work with so many data. They are data analysts basically. Yeah, but in the companies they worked for, the banks, they didn't see them like that. Yeah, so they could accept that, just stay in the job role, the positions they are, to be the accountant, endangered by the influence of the AI, the automation, because accountants will definitely be influenced and their work will change a lot, because it's a brain routine. Yeah, it's really like a computing routine, processing the data and the invoices, etc., etc. But my friends, and especially one friend, they decided to step out because the company didn't want it to invest into them, so they paid from their own the data academy in Chiquitas. It took half a year, it took a lot of money, but at the end of the academy they got first unpaid, then paid cooperation with company, yeah, and then they moved quite easily from banking, accounting to data analysis for a startup in Prague. Yeah, that's perfect case. Yeah, they just rejected that some employer see them fixed in their role and see them with no future, no perspective, doesn't want to invest into them, and they find their own way. Yeah, and they showed it in terms of the time and money invested. Yeah. And it led them to the opportunities. Yeah, if they didn't step out from the role, it wouldn't have happened. If you, basically, if you wait for what will happen for you, what will somebody else provide you, you will be endangered. Yeah, because it will not happen that easy. Yeah.
This sounds like my summary of that is you mentioned two broad strategies. One is the upskilling part, preferably proactive, and the other, perhaps less obvious one, is just sort of taking an inventory of your role, like beyond the title, what do I do and what are my skills, like what, which could help with identifying the adjacent things you can enter without just staying in the tunnel vision of your what's defined by the label.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we included it into one of our surveys last fall, and we asked people when it comes to job changes, job switching, when you change job, would you stick to what you know, the profession you have, or would you rather move to something new to have some better perspective? And just 1/3 of the people stated that they would really fix on what they know, to do what they know, and 40% declared they would rather move into something new, to learn something new, to have better perspective. Yeah. So the openness amongst people is much bigger than we think in companies. Yeah. People want to have better perspective on the labor market. They want to learn something, and we have data for that as well. The motivation for learning drops quickly and really in a huge way when it doesn't lead to any opportunities. Yeah, when you learn a lot of new stuff and it's like learning to the wall and you can't use it, you can't catch with no new opportunity. Nobody gives you chance to start working, for example, in a new role. That's the point where the people give up and they don't want to learn anything. Yeah? And we are back at the demographic change and the aging, because right now we have in Central Europe and Europe as a whole, we have 40%, no, it's not 40, it's 35% of people amongst 40, 49 years old in the labor market, yeah? Okay. So right now we have 1/3, 45% of people in the age of 40, 49. Almost 30% if 50, it's 50 plus. Yeah. So 2/3 of the employed population is above 40. Yeah. And we always think about the people who learn something new and catch up with another profession, etc., who switch roles. as the youngsters. Yeah, it's not happening. It's the people in the middle age as well. It's the people in 50s, in 60s. They want to have some perspective as well because they will need to work, for example, 10 more years, 15 more years. Yeah, and it's so many people on the labor market, and so many of them they don't see they are included. Nobody invests into them. Nobody want to hire them. Nobody replies them when they try to apply for some interesting position. Yeah. So that's something really huge, and if we don't solve this problem in the labor market, in the society, we will have huge tensions, I would say, because so many people will be excluded, and on the other hand, so many people will be missing on the labor market. Yeah, because when we have the whiteboard, but if you see the graph of the structure of the population entering or present of the labor in the labor market. I will give you one example. You heard the numbers. In Czech Republic, people, for example, 23 years old, it's like 83,000 of them, 83,000 in schools entering the market right now. It's my daughter, the oldest one there. She's 23. In my age, it's 180,000. Yeah, 180,000. So it's 100,000 difference in two cohorts, two age groups, 23, 43. Yeah. So it's so huge, gap, and there are so many young people missing when entering the market. Yeah. So companies are really pushed against the wall where to hire, and they exclude the older. Yeah, the mid and the higher age people in the labor market. So that's a really huge problem.
Which you're saying is just a stereotype because the data show that they are as
willing
to learn as they are.
Yeah, it's the stereotype. They are willing to learn, but they give up when they don't get the opportunities and they are excluded. Yeah.
The opportunities are, the companies don't respond to
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about continued education and how fundamental it is and how there's a big hunger for it. What's the value of education at the start of your career? So in a traditional sense, getting a bachelor degree or a master's degree, and maybe perhaps your own reflections on what your bachelor and master degree value, what value that has given you along your career.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have, let's say, several groups of people, but two major groups, and some of them, they are really specialized in terms of, for example, engineering jobs, etc. They need a qualification, the high school, for example, engineering degree to enter some exclusive type of jobs. Yeah. So that's one. For example, healthcare, the doctors, etc. It's the same case. Yeah, you can't do that if you don't have the proper education. That's one case. Yeah. Then we have those types of positions, and the humanities and economic schools comes there, which are more open to switching the roles, to adapt and catch up with the changes, and to find your own way in the splendid world of work and the way we work, yeah, with all the technologies and the news and the trends we have. And it's interesting because when you look on the unemployment rates of those highly specialized people with higher education, high school education in technical, for example, engineering job positions, just after the school, and the humanities and economical, for example, education, sometimes those highly specialized people struggle more to find something because they are more determined to do just the work they are specialized for. Yeah, when the people with the humanities and economical schools, they are able to skip the roles they are designed for. Yeah, so it's not about the proper or the concrete study program, for example. It's about the ability to find your own way. Yeah, and it's my case as well because I was studying philosophy and history, and right now I was a journalist for a long time, and right now I'm for 12 years data analyst. Yeah, you can't match it easily with philosophy and history in the beginning. I wouldn't imagine that I will do what I'm doing right now. But it was about firstly processing the information when I was a journalist, and then slowly shifting to data processing, and to putting things together in some concepts and trying to explain what's happening where based on data, for some people in companies and people on the market as well.
Yeah, and when we talk about technological advances and even AI giving a little bit more margin in our day-to-day jobs for creative and critical thinking, can you say that studying philosophy or history lends that to you in any way, or?
Definitely so. Definitely so, because it was about the way we handle the world, so, and some experience, some collective memory and experience, so definitely so. It was really helpful in all jobs I had in the past, and the current work I do right now, it's helpful as well, And then it's about, and I was talking about it much, it's about the openness to learning something new all the time. Because when you think you are done with education, you are complete, you are the best in what you do, that's the point when you started to be like out of perspective, out of demand.
I wanted to ask a question, just record. Actually a thesis, and I wanted to ask your thoughts on it. There is currently a trend to skip university education and focus on professional certificates, maybe IT certificates or very specific skills for specific jobs. And I wanted to ask you, because from my experience, I see that even though it's a short-term solution, a very effective solution, at some point in career development, I think some people struggle a bit with depth of their knowledge. Mm-hmm. So they do have specific skills, but when it comes to more complex positions or higher positions where you have to address more complex situations, these skills are not enough for them to address change, to address innovation in that field, etc. And in that sense, a certain holistic soft skill education gives them that space or that depth. And connected to that, I saw recently an interesting figure where people were arguing about the value of a specific degree for a specific job. And there is a tendency to look at the current salaries instead of, for example, lifetime value of a career. And quite often some jobs starting with low salaries, if you look at 20 years of career, they add up much higher than people who started with a high salary but got stuck for reasons, may it be, again, education or career path. And it's not, there seems to be a lack of a bit of a long-term thinking when it comes to career in that sense, because we live in a moment and things are changing, so it's so unpredictable. And I wanted to ask your thoughts on this topic.
I was telling about the white-collar jobs and the humanities, for example, and we see that even though those people, they start in really low-skilled positions, meant for people with just some mid-degree in colleges, but the people from universities start on those job positions meant for people from colleges. Their development on the market is much more quicker, and they are much more able to adapt and to find really interesting ways how to be more valuable for the employers. And I think it's because they are not kept in silos, and sometimes the higher specialization in terms, for example, of technical education, this kind of stuff, or for example of academic research, it's leading the people to be kept in the silos. Yeah, it's useful definitely for some type of work. For example, academic research definitely needs some scope and some specialization. Yeah, because we are not able to do major technical progress without academic research. Yeah, we need those people, but it won't be 90% of people on the market. Yeah, it will be 5-10% maybe. Yeah. 90% will need to stay open, not in the silos, to be able to adapt what's needed in the market right now. Yeah, and I guess, people look at the salaries right now, but I see the different way as well. That people from universities and high schools, they start on really not so well paid positions, and they progress quickly, yeah, because they are not thinking short term. They see interesting company, they would do anything for that company, let's say at the desk, office, whatever, yeah, but they want to be in that environment with those people. It's about not only income but social competencies as well, the inclusion, yeah, and they want to cooperate with them and find their way in the company, the organization, how to progress, yeah. And people from humanities and economic schools, they have advantage in that because they don't tend to be kept in some what I studied I will do, yeah. Because, for example, when you study history, for how many historians there is specific roles? Not so many, yeah. But you can do so many other types of work, for example, UX, marketing, whatever, and you will really use the value of the education you got, yeah, definitely.
And just to follow up on that, so do you think, these days you can do a certificate in, not to name companies, but in CRM or and there are really easy ways, 3 to 6 months, you get a really well-paid job. And for young people, do you think it's what would be a good order in terms of upskilling? So do you start with the holistic and then you specialize? Do you first secure a good job and then you use that as a springboard for further education? What would be your advice for young people?
I think I know. I think I can formulate this. Just jumping from what you said, this is how I would ask the same thing. You have imagine there is somebody finishing about to graduate AAU in front of you, and they say I'm considering whether to do a master's or do this 3-month certificate and go get a marketing job. Is the master's degree worth it? Is it not? Or the same argument for the bachelor, right? Should I just finish high school, travel for a year, then do a 3-month certificate and go? Or is the master's, the university degree, does it have a value?
Okay, so my answer is the long-term trend is that the time we spend at formal schools, it's prolonging, because the preparation for your future independent life is just prolonging. The childhood is prolonging, yeah. We live longer and we have longer time in the youth to be preparing for that, yeah. So that's the first thing. So from my point of view, in the past it was elementary schools, then the colleges. Right now, for me, the basic level of education is at least bachelor's degree, yeah. It's kind of some basis of higher education. And then many people, I would just advise to finish the master's as well, yeah, because it's just the prolongment of the basics of the holistic type of education. And then when it comes to further education, academic, let's say doctor studies, PhD, etc., I would advise just those people who want to stay in academic field and to do some research to continue. But those who would like to focus on business, on usual type of jobs, I would skip out of the academic field and to continue with practice. Yeah, because what we see is that no certificate, even though those 3-6 month certificates in highly demanded fields, for example, programming, data processing, etc., no certificate or education will give you a job. It's mostly about a combination of the knowledge and some practice. Yeah, some company that will give you the opportunity to start doing that, and they will invest in you and train you in practice. Yeah. So if you want to do the 90% stuff on the open labor market for companies in the business area, I would finish at least bachelor's, then master, maybe not, if you want to make it quicker, yeah, and then just jump into the practice and continue with the whole life education and doing something, yeah, because people learn on what they do, yeah, mostly.
So just a quick follow-up on that. So, as you said, the juvenile period extends, but young people are impatient and they want to act, they want to change, they want to make an impact. Maybe they cannot afford to stay in school for the masters. Do you think that this should be somehow acknowledged, that there is time and there will be time? Because I do see from my experience that people are really impatient about the education process, because the world is changing and social media and this and that, and you can be an influencer, you don't need to do anything. But people don't think, not necessarily even where they want to be in 10 years, but they don't think about the fact that they will have to work for 50 years or 60 years. And there will be plenty of time to upskill, to shift. You know, they think short term, and they get very impatient. So in terms of, let's say, career planning and development, is there any advice maybe, or any thoughts you would give to young people?
But I think it's also some push from the market, because those people who have some practice while studying, they are in better position when applying for first regular jobs. Yeah. So it's a push from the market that people know that if they are active while studying and they do something, at least something small, or project work, or let's say volunteering somewhere, if they invest some time and energy in that type of stuff, they will have an advantage. So that's the reason why so many people try to do that. Yeah, I would say it's also about the way we educate them. Yeah, because right now the bachelor's and master degrees at most schools, at least in Central Europe, it's like really, really heavy academic stuff. Yeah, it's not so cooperative. It's not so target-oriented, business-oriented. Yeah, it's not so practical. Yeah, it's changing with private schools, I guess. It's changing with some open and state schools as well, but it's changing slowly. It's rather preparation for long-term academic career, which will not happen for 90% of people. Yeah, so it should be more practical, at least the bachelor's and the masters. And the farther you go, it should start to be more academic, more heavy, like and in-depth in some field, some silo. Yeah, but right now people are impatient because the academic type of education at bachelor's, for example, it doesn't show them it will be, let's say, useful in their future. So they want to put their hands on something. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, so if we change as well the education system as well, yeah, it will help us to keep the people the time we need to give them some, let's say, bigger picture, yeah, and some basic knowledge of the world, because it's more complex all the time.
If we could talk about internships for a moment. I think we see more internships being more competitive than we ever have, and even a lot of unpaid internships are a big issue. Is that just a sign that that market or that sector is oversaturated and that people should turn away from that sector, or should they persevere through the unpaid internships?
When I see the numbers, for example, on job portals, jobs.cz, etc., we see that we have, let's say, 3,000 to 4,000 of internships per year on 350 350,000 of job positions. Yeah, it's like small percentage, under or around 1% of job positions. Yeah, I guess it's 1%. Yeah, and we have 80,000 students in 1 year, like 500,000 students in all schools. Yeah, so it's not enough. Yeah, and everybody is told, and you see that when you are applying somewhere, if you have practice and you are doing something for some company for some time, and even more so, if it's connected with your field of study, yeah, it's so big advantage. Yeah, so I would say there is no room for people to be included in trainings in companies. Yeah, and why? Companies, they cry they don't have where to hire, but they don't want to invest that much time and money into unskilled people with limited time to participate. Yeah, the typical type of hiring in Czech Republic is, and in Central Europe as a whole, is full-time jobs for skilled people with some senior practice. Yeah, we don't have them, but we still hope to find them on the market. There's no such people available or free in the market right now with proper skill sets. Yeah. But the companies, they don't invest in internships that much, and it's a shame.
Yeah. And so where else are graduates turning to look for education? Like I would say traditionally, our parents' generation, you know, they would be looking for the big shiny corporations. Is this evolving at all? Like I imagine that there's a lot more people turning to freelancing now.
Yeah,
working with startups.
It depends on the phase of the economical cycle as well. So right now we have some fears. We have war and pandemic, and people are just afraid of job changes. So freelancing is not that big issue amongst the youngest. Yeah, it will be again. Yeah, because we have 700,000 of freelancers in Czech Republic, and it's 14% of the workforce right now. So it's a huge amount of people. But when you are sailing through the thunder, you won't seek open sea. You would seek some harbor and its employment. Yeah, and when we ask people what type of jobs or companies they are looking for, the big names and corporations, it targets let's say 40% of people. Because they see the big name and they see some let's say stability, perspective, yeah, some opportunities. If you imagine, for example, Google or some automotive company, Škoda, for example, you see it's a huge company, stable, and they are able to survive. Yeah, and it's based on data. It's true. Yeah, because we see during the pandemic, the bigger companies survived better because they have more resources and more time to adapt. Yeah, because they had just reserves for everything. Yeah, because they just earned for that in the past. Yeah, so that's the reason why the big names attract. But we see also that it's some trend that people past few years they are looking for some work in public sector as well. The state institutions, NGOs, they start to be more attractive because of the impact of the work, especially if they see that the impact is there. We struggle in terms of, let's say, ministries and those organizations in state sector. But in NGO sector and some, let's say, education providers, etc., we see the impact is there, and the motivation for whom to work is changing slowly, and the social aspect and let's say sustainability aspect is growing. Yeah, so people tend to not only look for the income, but what type of work and where is leading to if you do that with some company or some organization. Yeah, and amongst the youth, the impactful work is like more on the rise than just the income. Yeah,
that's a relief for the future.
Yeah, that's good, but again, it's not so big group of people. Yeah, so the mid-age and older are still in majority, and maybe that's
like
a common.
Yeah.
But it's shifting on the whole labor market. Yeah, all the people are shifting to seek not only income, although we are just now struggling with incomes because the real income is declining. The real income is declining last year and a half. Yeah, it's really a struggle for many people. We have like 20% of employees struggling to cope with the income from work. Yeah, it's a huge 18% of people can't afford unexpected spending. For example, when you have a car broken or washing machine broken, they can't afford to pay it from reserves. Yeah, 20% of people, it's really something extremely pushing them. But then we have those 20-25% people really seeking not only income but kind of influence, impact on the market.
Yeah. That's one thing I saw and talked with quite a few students working here, that there's a lot of students, they were very concerned about getting an impactful job that was going to make the world a little bit better somehow. They weren't so profit driven or job title driven. However, when you looked at the jobs available on the market, it was a little bit more difficult, and it's the jobs in the nonprofit sector with NGOs or say even the UN they seem so competitive. And again, it was in this arena, there's a lot of very prolonged unpaid internships. But I don't know if perhaps that was just the context of our university, that we have mostly English.
I don't think so.
speaking.
I see it as well, but I would say it's impatience as well. Yeah, because many people, they don't see. Sometimes you start doing something, you put your hands on something, you learn while doing something, and then step by step you are progressing in the company, horizontally shifting, or from one type of job to another, and you will find impact, let's say in 5 to 7 years. Yeah, but you have to do the steps. You can't have it just you can't have it like just in the beginning as the first job. Yeah, it's not happening that often that you find a perfect job just at first try. Yeah, so it takes some patience as well, and the ability and the willingness to do something, to dirty your hands, or mind with something, to do the work.
Okay. Well, I guess we can wrap this up. Patience and keep learning. So thank you very much for your time, Tomáš.
And keep doing stuff.
Yes, keep active. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bravo.